Hello, space friends, Captain Snuggles here, back in the X4 Foundation's version 7.5 public beta. By all indications, we are approaching the end of the beta period, so I'm gonna sneak in this one last analysis video and then call it quits. This time, I'll be going over the Propulsion rebalance, and in order to do that, I'll need to cover the new boost as well. Like my previous playtest videos, this will be a quantitative analysis and overview for my viewers, combined with my feedback for Egosoft. The rebalance has been the beta's strong point from day one, and the boost isn't too bad either, but I do still have some suggestions on both fronts. To paraphrase the assorted publicity around the rebalance, its goals are to deepen the differences between ships and equipment, to make it all work well with the new flight model, and to make the player's choices of ships and loadouts feel meaningful and impactful. It feels a little strange to say because we've been hearing the exact opposite from the advertising around the new Hyperion Pack DLC, which makes it hard to figure out what the actual design direction of this patch is going to be. Still, we're told that the rebalance itself aims to increase the strategic depth of ships and loadouts, and so I'll go through this analysis with that objective in mind. First, the boost. The old boost consumed your ship's shields at varying rates based on the engine, which was a very cool risk-reward mechanic for player-piloted ships, but not so much when it came to AI-piloted ships. The AI has never been able to adaptively choose to boost or not boost. It's just scripted to boost for certain durations in response to certain triggers. In 7.1 and prior, that often led to the AI deleting its own shields at very inopportune times. So, Egosoft put out a community poll, and the community voted to decouple the boost from the shields, which led to the version 7.5 boost. In this new version, engines have the same set of basic boost stats: thrust modifier, acceleration modifier, attack, release, and duration, but now duration represents the engine's internal boost energy pool as opposed to the depletion rate of the shields. There are also two new boost stats: coast, which affects post-boost coasting, and more importantly, recharge rate, which determines how quickly the engine's boost energy recovers. We have arrived at my first gripe, which is that the recharge rate on the ship information panel is expressed as a percentage per second as opposed to an absolute quantity per second, which is a little bit misleading. For example, looking at this argon engine with a recharge rate of 1 and this boron engine with a recharge rate of 0.5, you might assume that argon recharges dramatically faster. The reality is that boron recharges faster. The argon engine takes 7.4 seconds to regain 1 second of boost energy, whereas boron only takes 7 seconds. My take is that absolute recharge is more informative than percent recharge, so it would be nice if the ship info panel gave you the absolute value. Now then, boost performance. You've been watching that test in the background. I tried every faction's large all-round engine on their destroyer and their medium Mark II combat engine on their frigate or gunboat, and I just repeatedly buzzed a Xenon defense station. I started boosting when I saw the first graviton shots, I stopped boosting when I was clear of the station, and while I was boosting, I didn't turn except to avoid collisions. With the medium ships, I circled back around to dance with the drones until I was out of boost energy. Basically, the questions were: to what extent does the new boost allow us to mitigate incoming damage? How long can we keep up that level of damage mitigation? And to what extent do those traits vary between engines? The answers are that the new boost offers a very high level of damage mitigation for a very long time. As long as you can break about 60 meters per second squared acceleration at the large size class and about 250 meters per second squared acceleration at the medium size class. Most combat and all-round engines can hit those thresholds on most ships. The Osaka, Phoenix, and Thresher all struggled a bit using their respective factions' engines, but the other 9 loadouts easily evaded the weapon types that are designed to hit them. The destroyers outran most of the graviton fire, and the medium ships were all able to exceed the tracking speed of the xenon beam turrets, and most of the defense drone fire. Argon in particular looked absolutely untouchable, but they could all vastly reduce incoming damage at the push of a button. Now, it's not that the old boost couldn't do that, but it used to cost you shield HP to do it, so there was a risk-reward trade-off involved. Now that that's removed, the only catch is that you can't fire your weapons while you're actively boosting. Otherwise, it's a free invulnerability button. It also can't be disabled, except by a few rare weapons, whereas with the old system, if you lost your shields, you lost your boost. So, the new boost system essentially makes you invulnerable, for free, at any time, unless you mess up and burn through all your energy, and even then you don't have to wait long to get it back. This does solve the issue with suicidal shieldless AI, which is a positive change, but the side effect is that basically all risk has been removed from player piloting, which really trivializes combat and is a negative change in my book. To make combat less trivial, turret tracking definitely needs a rework, and the AI needs to be upgraded to use its own boost proactively. Improved AI boost behavior is something we were promised in the community poll. It was part of the option that 81% of us voted for, and Egosoft has said that they're honoring that vote, so presumably it will happen sometime. But neither that nor a turret rework is likely to happen this patch. A faster fix that I personally would like would be linking boost recharge and shield recharge so that the shields recharge at a reduced rate while the boost is recharging, or maybe vice versa. That's probably not going to happen, but it's my 2 cents. What I do not want to see is a direct nerf to the boost itself, because it's a key component of general maneuverability with the new flight model. Last note on the boost updates. We now have new sound effects and visual effects for the boost and for the travel drive. Truth be told, I don't really know what the old boost looked like, but I do know what it sounded like, and it sounds way better now. There are different sound effects for different engines, and all the engines sound appropriate to their boost parameters. This is genuinely one of my favorite things about this new patch. Some of the new travel drive sound effects haven't quite been synced up to match the new charge times, but other than that, I have no complaints. Now, let's pivot from the boost to the broader propulsion rebalance. I'm going to focus mainly on the differences between the various engines based on faction, but first, a quick note about engine type: combat, all-round, and travel. Believe it or not, travel engines have been rebalanced to actually be good at traveling. Every travel drive stat is always equal or better on travel engines compared to other engine types. So, travel engines have the best travel drives, combat engines have the best cruise and boost stats, and all-round engines are in between. At long last, engine names make sense. And the good news doesn't stop there, because the faction differences also make more sense now. For this section, I'm going to give a description of each faction's engine based on the 3 main performance categories: cruise, boost, and travel. You could argue that flight assist is a 4th performance category, but I'm going to just incorporate that into the other 3. I'll be judging cruise performance based on the raw stats of the engine, boost performance based on the stats as well as the boost test we've been watching, and travel performance based on a repeat of the travel drive components of my old propulsion lab tests. If you haven't watched those videos, I essentially judged travel times for all the engine types, all the factions, all the size classes, by racing them on courses with short, medium, and long segments, incorporating what I considered to be realistic maneuvers on ships of different weight from each size class. When I say different weights, I don't just mean mass, I mean ship handling more broadly. What I'm calling heavy ships are slow and unwieldy, and light ships are fast and nimble. FYI, I'll be painting in broad strokes here. There's a lot of variation that I just can't capture in a single video, so I'll be synthesizing the average performance of each faction's engines into reasonably concise descriptions. We'll do this alphabetically. So, Argon are up first. Argon engines have unimpressive cruising stats. Their basic speed and acceleration are mediocre at best. They make up for that with their boost. It features very high top speed, very high acceleration, low duration, medium recharge rate, and good speed retention, by which I mean they maintain boost speed for a long time after the boost itself ends, thanks to a combination of boost release time, their coast parameter, and the characteristics of their flight assist. Basically, their boost has excellent power and medium endurance. It's an absolutely top-tier dogfighting tool that can keep your speed and agility very high in combat without having to constantly hold down the boost button, meaning you can still fire your weapons most of the time. As for their travel drive, it has a very slow charge time, reasonably high top speed, and weak acceleration. It favors medium to heavy ships and medium to long distances, and it's most competitive in the small and medium size classes, where it ranks second best overall. This is a tremendous change from the old Argon engines, which were utterly unremarkable aside from having a high top travel speed. This new version makes way more sense. It really encapsulates the Argon predisposition towards risky strategies and individual skill. Next up are the Boron. Take this with a grain of salt, because Boron engines can only go on Boron ships, meaning a one-to-one comparison with the other factions is not possible. Their cruise thrust output is miserably low. Their boost features high top speed, very low acceleration, very high duration, medium recharge rate, and poor speed retention. Overall, it has medium power and medium endurance, but it can't be used the same way as the others. It can only build up decent speed with very long burns, which doesn't leave you much boost energy for additional maneuvers. You can, however, transition seamlessly between boost and travel mode. The travel drive has 0 charge time, very high top speed, and very low acceleration, similar to the boost. Flying Boron really relies on mixing and matching boost and travel drive, favoring long, curving maneuvers where you can maintain your momentum. I don't know whether this really fits any aspect of Boron lore, but it does match their aquatic theme. Their ships are graceful when flown correctly, and they feel like beached whales when flown incorrectly. Paranid engines might be lore appropriate, if you're willing to do some minor mental gymnastics. They have reasonably high cruising speed and acceleration. Their boost features medium top speed, medium acceleration, low duration, low recharge rate, and medium speed retention. They have good boosting power in short bursts, but they don't have the endurance for extended dogfights. Their travel drives, on the other hand, are all about endurance. They have slow charge time, decent acceleration, and very high top speed. They favor relatively heavy ships and long travel distances at any size class, and they're absolutely dominant in the small and medium size classes. The lore connection I came up with is the interstellar drones developed by the Alliance of the Word. Small ships designed to be accelerated to very high speeds over long periods of time. The Alliance is a separate entity from the major Paranid factions, but I imagine they've shared a lot of their technological development. And then there's the Split. No mental gymnastics here. Split go fast. They have by far the best cruising speed and acceleration. Their boost is second only to Argon, with high top speed, high acceleration, medium duration, medium recharge rate, and medium speed retention, giving it excellent power and medium endurance. Like Argon, this is an excellent combat engine, but watch out. The combination of insane power and weak flight assist can be a bit hazardous to the user. As for the travel drive, there's the minor issue that you can't activate it while being shot, meaning the Split do not care about it at all. Their travel drive is the worst by a wide margin in every category except charge time, where it is narrowly second worst. So yep, these are definitely Split engines. By contrast, the Talati are much more even-keeled. Their cruising stats are right around average. Their boost features low top speed, medium acceleration, high duration, high recharge rate, and good speed retention, giving it medium power and high endurance. It's a decent booster for extended dogfights, and it's a great booster for maneuvering heavy ships outside of combat. The travel drive, meanwhile, checks different boxes. It has reasonably fast charge time, high acceleration, and below average top speed, which favors light to midweight ships and short to medium distances. Talati didn't win any of the travel races, but they consistently came in second or third. Basically, this is the jack-of-all-trades option. Or, as I see it, the Talati are trying to be reasonably competitive in every market. Rounding out the list, we have the Terran engines, which are a little tamer than they used to be, but they're still unique. They have very low cruise speed and acceleration. Their boost features low top speed, very low acceleration, high duration, very high recharge rate, and poor speed retention. It's the weakest booster in terms of raw power, but it does have high endurance, and it's very easy to control. Sort of like Boron, the Terran boost seems designed to work in tandem with their travel drive, which has a fast charge time, very high acceleration, and low top speed, favoring light ships and short travel distances. Their best performance is on relatively lightweight capital ships, but they won the midweight capital ship races handily as well. Makes sense. The Terrans love to travel with military ships, and military ships tend to be fairly lightweight. All in all, Terran engines aren't as flashy as a lot of the Commonwealth engines, but they're practical and easy to use, so I think they'll be popular with new players. Honestly, I like all of this. It is too bad the AI doesn't know how to boost adaptively, because some of the engines really depend on their boost to be effective. Still, there's nothing we can do about that for now, and it is at least nice to have this diversity of options for personal use. And they're lore appropriate too, which I love. Aside from the AI's boost issues, my biggest critique is that Talati and Terran have really similar travel drive performance in a lot of practical scenarios, and Paranid also ends up clumped up with them from time to time. I'd like to see them differentiated a bit more, and I'd do that by pushing them farther into their respective specializations. Talati stays as is. Terran gets a little bit higher travel acceleration and a little bit lower top travel speed, and Paranid gets a little bit lower travel acceleration. You could give Paranid a little bit of extra travel speed to compensate, but I don't think they really need it. I have two more thoughts, both of them about travel charge time. First, all the engines except Talati and Split have different charge times for their combat, all-round, and travel engines. I feel like Talati and Split should have that too. And second, there are big gaps in charge time between Terran and Talati, and then between Talati and Paranid. I'd love to see Split slide into that first gap, and Argon into the second one. That wouldn't change the relative performance of either engine. It would just make them a little less painful to work with, and it would fit the lore, especially for Split. It would make sense for something about their travel drive to be fast, even if it's still the worst travel drive overall. Again, I'm not trying to break the mold here, just looking for small ways to push all the engines deeper into their respective specializations to make the choices between them more impactful. And that's that. We still don't have a complete picture of what the game will look like with the DLC alongside the free update. For now, we can only judge what we see in the beta, and I do like what I'm seeing with the Propulsion rebalance. That's going to wrap up this final Beta 7.5 analysis video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you'll tune in next time. And until then, this is Captain Snuggles, signing off.